If there's one thing that makes anyone feel relaxed and happy, it's watching good cartoons. But did you know that your favorite cartoon is probably full of references and secrets that you never noticed? For example, in Bluey, during the episode Weekend, many people didn't catch it, but when Bingo can't sleep, we see Chili and her eldest daughter trying to help the youngest member of the family relax, and we can see the little blue dog showing her sister a doll, pointing out the details. Interestingly, Bluey's doll is a clear reference to the beloved children's character Strawberry Shortcake. However, we can see that the Healer family's version in the cartoon is a canine one, and instead of strawberries, her details are in sushi, likely to avoid any legal issues. But it's definitely a nod to Strawberry Shortcake. Join us now as we explore 18 of the biggest hidden secrets in cartoons that you probably had no idea about. So jump on this wave, because Cinewave is starting now. How to Train Your Dragon is definitely one of DreamWorks' best franchises. But did you notice that the first character introduced in the movie wasn't the main protagonist Hiccup or any of the Vikings from his tribe, but the dragon himself, Toothless, who is also a protagonist? Contrary to what many think, that the first time we see the Night Fury is when Hiccup captures him in the forest. The Night Dragon actually appears in a very hidden way right at the opening of the film, flying near the DreamWorks logo. Be honest, had you noticed this? Because I hadn't. Nickelodeon is also one of the biggest producers of animated cartoons of all time, alongside Disney and Cartoon Network. And two of their greatest and best cartoons are SpongeBob SquarePants and The Loud House, so it only makes sense that the shows would reference each other. For example, in an episode where Lisa gets a bad grade for not knowing how to interact with other students, we see that in the background of the classroom, there's a board where we can spot 4 sea creatures: a yellow sponge, a crab, a pink starfish, and a slightly bluish octopus. This is a clear nod to the 4 main characters from Bikini Bottom: SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs, Patrick, and Squidward. We caught that Nickelodeon reference. Beyond references, cartoons are also full of mysteries and dark theories. One of the most well-known definitely happens in the longest-running yellow-themed show on television, The Simpsons. It involves none other than Chief Wiggum, who's in charge of the Springfield Police Department, and his entire family. That's because if you look closely at the character's son, he doesn't resemble either his father or his mother. That's why fans insist on the theory that the boy is actually the son of Eddie, a police officer who works with Wiggum, especially because both of them have similar hair. In fact, in one episode of the series, the secret is finally revealed, and Wiggum's wife admits to the affair. The catch is that the episode isn't considered canonical, so the mystery remains. Speaking of The Simpsons, it was the first animated show to have almost all its characters with completely yellow skin, something that the Minions would replicate 21 years later. But do you know where the idea to make The Simpsons entirely yellow came from? Believe it or not, the choice of color happened because the show's animators thought it would be less work to use yellow, since they wouldn't need to draw a line separating the skin from the hair of Homer and Marge's 3 children, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. In other words, yellow could be used for both the hair and the skin of the characters, and it worked out great. So much so that the show has been airing uninterrupted for over 35 years. Speaking of hidden theories and animations, one of the most intriguing involves the possibility that the 2 most successful Disney films of the 90s take place at the same time. We're talking about Aladdin, which is set in Agrabah, somewhere in the Middle East, and Hercules, which takes place in ancient Greece. The theory is based on the fact that when Aladdin and Jasmine are on their magic carpet ride, they pass by a garden full of Greek-style buildings and sculptures. And when we move to Hercules, we see that Megara, the demigod son of Zeus's love interest, bumps into a Cupid statue very similar to the one that appears in Aladdin, which really suggests that the theory that the 2 films take place in the same era makes perfect sense. Now tell me, are you really a fan of cartoons? If so, comment below with #yes. It's not uncommon for animators to draw inspiration from real life when creating their characters. After all, art imitates life, doesn't it? We see this happen, for example, in the Bluey series with several characters. For instance, the creator of the series was inspired by the fact that when he was a teenager, he had a blue heeler dog, much like Bluey, full of energy. That's where the idea came from to create a series set in a world inhabited by dogs instead of humans, with the main family being made up of blue and red heeler dogs. Additionally, Bandit himself is a mix of 2 real-life people: Joe Brum, who is also a father of 2 girls, and his brother, Adam Brum, who is an archaeologist in real life, just like Bluey's dad. Moreover, Joe's other brother, Dan Brum, works on the Bluey series as a sound designer and mixer, and he's also the voice actor for Stripe, Bandit's younger brother, just as Dan is Joe's younger brother. Furthermore, Joe's parents are named Bob and Nana, who inspired the characters Grandpa Bob and Nana on the show. And Joe's mother is even the voice actress for Bluey's grandmother on the show, proving that the inspiration is truly rooted in reality. As we mentioned earlier in this video, many cartoon creators draw inspiration from people close to them or even from themselves to create characters. For example, Matt Groening, the creator of The Simpsons, was inspired by his father and mother, who were named Homer and Margaret, to create the main couple of the show, Homer and Marge. Moreover, Matt also had two sisters in real life, and guess what their names were? If you guessed Lisa and Maggie, you're correct! Basically, he took the names of his family members and gave them to each of the main characters in the series. And if you're wondering where the inspiration came from for creating Bart, the character with the greatest ability to play pranks and cause trouble in the history of cartoons, we've got the answer. Matt Groening was inspired by none other than himself to create the character, proving that he must have been that kid in class who never let anyone have any peace. Speaking of characters who are experts at pulling pranks, we're reminded of the duo Harold and George from the Captain Underpants movie. At one point, they end up sabotaging the smart toilet created by their genius classmate. And when they do this, we see that the robot starts to malfunction and several names begin to appear on its screen. If you pause at the right moment, you'll notice that one of the names that appears is David. And this is no coincidence, since the director of the film is named David Soren, who also worked on other famous animations like Madagascar and Turbo. We still have a few more secrets to share with you, but after seeing so many, I think we deserve your subscription. Click below and join our group of cartoon and animated movie fans. Returning to the realm of somewhat dark theories involving cartoons, here's another one that will absolutely blow your mind. Practically everyone in the world knows that SpongeBob SquarePants is set in a place called Bikini Bottom, where aquatic creatures live as if they were people like us. What most people don't know is that there's actually a real marine ecosystem called Bikini Atoll. To be more precise, it's called Bikini Atoll, and it's a place where human life is impossible because it's extremely radioactive, having been used many years ago by the US government for nuclear bomb testing. Perhaps this radioactivity could explain how sponges, crabs, starfish, and other marine animals evolved and became so intelligent that they could live in a society. In fact, the name bikini, which is used for the two-piece swimsuit that Sandy Cheeks wears, also comes from this same place. Interestingly, in France, the word bikini is a registered term and can't be used by just anyone. And that's likely where the inspiration for the French character we often see in SpongeBob SquarePants came from. Returning to the Bluey cartoon, we can see that the animators of the Little Blue Dog show are real fans of major pop culture movies. This is evident in the episode Granddad from the second season, where we see a scene that was totally inspired by the highest-grossing fantasy trilogy in history, The Lord of the Rings. When Bluey and Bingo and Granddad Mort are hiding from Chili, they use a tree root to stay out of sight, then throw a small stone to distract her before running away. This is basically a recreation of the same scene that happens in the first Lord of the Rings film, where the hobbits hide under roots and use the same tactic to escape from the Nazgul. Interestingly, other cartoons also have references to movies set in Middle-earth. This is the case with SpongeBob SquarePants in the episode Dunces and Dragons from the 4th season, which makes a reference to the villain from The Lord of the Rings, Sauron. When we see the villain of the cartoon, Plankton, as the great evil wizard, we notice that he lives in a large black tower. The detail is that this tower is identical to the tower where the Dark Lord of the Lord of the Rings trilogy rules, where we can see the Eye of Sauron, just like Plankton, who also has just one eye. A clearer reference than this is impossible. We're wrapping up the video here, but you can keep having fun by watching these two amazing videos we've left for you, which are now appearing on your screen. Just click and watch. Thanks, and see you next time!